Picture this. Red and blue lights slicing through the crisp Arizona night like a bad omen, turning my dusty driveway into a crime scene straight out of a low-budget thriller. I stepped out onto my porch, beer in hand, squinting at the sheriff's cruiser parked at my gate, wondering if I'd accidentally time-traveled to some dystopian suburb where breathing too loud gets you busted. And there she was, lurking behind the cop car like a shadow with a perm, Evelyn Hargrove, the HOA president of Whispering Pines Estates, arms crossed, lips pursed in that smug victory grin, as if she'd just caught me red-handed murdering the neighborhood's precious aesthetic. I'd only been in Whispering Pines for a month, fresh from the chaos of Chicago, chasing that American dream of wide-open spaces. 20 acres of scrubland and silence, my little ranch called Sagebrush Haven, butting right up against the HOA's cookie-cutter kingdom. The real estate agent had sworn up and down, adjacent, not affiliated. You're free as a bird out here. Yeah, right. Free like a bird in a cage with invisible bars. My place was a throwback rustic cabin, wraparound porch with a creaky swing, a couple of chickens scratching in the yard, and my mutt, Rusty, who wouldn't hurt a fly unless it barked first. It was paradise, or so I thought, until Evelyn decided my existence was a personal affront to her iron-fisted rulebook. The trouble started innocently enough, or so it seemed. First morning after the move, sun rising over the mesas, I brewed a pot of black coffee strong enough to wake the dead and settled into that porch swing with Rusty at my feet. The air smelled like freedom, dry earth, distant pine, no honking horns or nosy landlords. Then, out of nowhere, a pearl-white Cadillac Escalade crept up the dirt road, idling like it was casing the joint. I waved, friendly-like, figuring it was a neighbor dropping by with a welcome pie. The tinted window cracked just enough for me to catch a glimpse. A woman in her 50s, pearl necklace choking her neck, hair sprayed into a helmet that could deflect bullets. She stared, unblinking, then the window zipped up, and she peeled away in a cloud of dust. Weird, I muttered to Rusty, who thumped his tail once and went back to sleep. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky blood orange, I found it taped to my front door, a crisp white envelope, sealed with a sticker that screamed officialdom. I ripped it open, expecting junk mail. Nope. Violation notice. Unauthorized porch fixture. Structure does not comply with Whispering Pines aesthetic guidelines. Remove immediately or face $200 fine. Signed with a flourish. Evelyn Hargrove, President, Whispering Pines HOA. I blinked. Read it again. My porch swing? The one that came with the house? I wasn't even in their damn neighborhood. Different zip. Different everything. I chuckled, balled it up, and tossed it in the trash. Must be a mix-up, I told myself. But deep down, a little voice whispered, this ain't no mix-up, buddy. This is war. 2 days later, another envelope. This one slipped under my gate like a coward's whisper. Noise violation. Excessive animal disturbance. Code 14C. $100 fine. Rusty had let out one solitary woof at a passing coyote. I stared at the paper, the ink practically smirking at me. Now I was pissed, but I kept my cool. No point in raging at ghosts. Instead, I started watching. And boy, did the show begin. Cars, always the same few SUVs, would slow to a crawl past my fence. Drivers pretending to fiddle with their phones while snapping pics of my chicken coop. One afternoon, I caught 3 neighbors huddled at the end of their cul-de-sac, heads together like conspirators in a bad spy flick. As I approached to grab my mail, they scattered like roaches under a light. The ringleader, a paunchy guy in khakis and a polo shirt, muttered just loud enough, "Watch out for that outsider. He's probably got bodies buried out there." I froze, then laughed out loud. "Outsider? I own more dirt than your whole block combined. Pal." He scurried off without a word. By week's end, the violations piled up like bad karma. Unapproved fencing material, $150. Visual clutter from livestock, $75. Even failure to maintain neutral color palette for my red barn door. Each one arrived anonymously, but I knew the source. Evelyn's Escalade became a fixture, parked just beyond my property line, engine humming like a threat. I could feel her eyes on me every time I stepped outside. Rumors started swirling too. I overheard them at the local diner. "That new guy's running a meth lab," one whispered. "No. Worse, illegal cockfighting ring. All because of a few chickens and a dog." I bit my tongue, played the oblivious fool, but inside, I was cataloging every move. Patience, my grandpa always said, is the sharpest knife in the drawer. Then came the first cop visit, the one that kicked everything into high gear. It was a Friday night, stars popping out like diamonds on black velvet. I was on the porch swing, nursing a cold one, Rusty snoring beside me, when those lights hit. 2 deputies sauntered up, badges gleaming, hands hovering near holsters like they expected a shootout. "Evening, sir," the taller one said, voice flat as the desert floor. "Got a report of suspicious activity. Possible code violations and public nuisance." I set my beer down slow, heart thumping but face calm. "Suspicious? Like what, officer?" "Me enjoying my own damn porch." They exchanged glances. Caller mentioned unauthorized structures, animal cruelty, and potential trespassing on community land. Trespassing? On my land? I almost snorted. They poked around, found zilch, chickens clucking peacefully, Rusty wagging his tail like an idiot. "Sorry for the bother," the shorter deputy muttered as they left. But as their cruiser pulled away, I spotted her, Evelyn in her Escalade, window down just a crack, that thorn-sharp smile slicing through the dark. "Standards must be upheld, Mr. Riley," she called out, voice dripping honeyed venom. "For the good of the community." Then she vanished into the night. I stood there, fists clenched, Rusty whining at my feet. That was the moment it clicked. This wasn't about rules. It was about her ego, her little fiefdom where she played God with a clipboard. But she didn't know me. I wasn't some pushover transplant. I'd grown up poring over old land maps with my dad, learning how boundaries aren't just lines on paper, they're battles won or lost. The next day, I hit the county records office, a dusty relic smelling of mildew and forgotten history. Hours later, buried in yellowed files, I struck gold, the original deed to Sagebrush Haven, dated 1892. My ranch predated the HOA by a century, explicitly exempt from any covenants. Better yet, it held vested oversight rights over adjacent developments, meaning I had veto power on community matters if they impacted my borders. I clutched that paper like a loaded gun, grinning ear to ear. Evelyn thought she had me cornered. "Oh, honey, the corner was mine all along." I kept quiet, let the fine stack like poker chips. Another envelope, repeat offender status, $500 cumulative fine. I filed it away with the rest. Evidence building. Neighbors whispered louder now. He's ignoring the queen bee. Bold or stupid? I caught snippets at the gas station. Evelyn says he's lowering property values. Probably a squatter. Boy, no. Straight from her playbook. But I observed. Waited. Let her dig her own grave. The summons came via certified mail. All pomp and circumstance. Mandatory attendance. Whispering Pines HOA meeting. I showed up at their clubhouse. A bland box of stucco and fake palms. Dressed in faded jeans and a flannel shirt amid a sea of pastel polos. The room reeked of air freshener masking desperation. Evelyn presided from a dais. Board members flanking her like obedient drones. Clipboards at the ready. Mr. Riley, she cooed. Voice like saccharine poison. We're so glad you could join us. Your infractions have become a concern for our harmonious community. She rattled off the list. Each violation enunciated with relish. Porch swing. Dog barks. Chicken eyesores. Neighbors nodded robotically, eyes darting. When she finished, she folded her hands primly. We value order here. Surely you understand the need for uniformity? It's what keeps our values high. I leaned back, crossed my arms. Order or control? Evelyn, I just want to swing on my porch without your permission slip. Her smile faltered, eyes narrowing. Defiance will cost you, sir. We're issuing a $1,500 lien. Non-payment could lead to unfortunate legal steps. I stood, tipped an imaginary hat. Appreciate the chat, and walked out, leaving the room buzzing like a disturbed hive. That night, a new note on my gate. Final warning. Comply or face eviction proceedings. Eviction? From my own land? I burned it in the fire pit. Flames dancing like mockery. Rusty barked approval. But the game escalated. Shadows lurked. SUVs circling at dusk. Anonymous calls to animal control claiming Rusty's abuse. He got a clean bill. Thank you. My mailbox overflowed with hate mail. Get out, freak. You're ruining our paradise. One even said, we know about your secrets, Evelyn told us. Secrets? The only secret was her delusion of power. I started getting tailed on runs to town. Her Escalade always 2 cars back. Paranoia? Not strategy. She wanted me rattled, isolated. Instead, I dug deeper into the charter. Confirmed, my vested rights meant I could call for votes on HOA policies. No one had challenged it in decades. I sipped whiskey on the porch that night, stars mocking the suburbs below. Your move, Queen, I whispered to the wind. She doubled down, as tyrants do. Cops showed up twice more, once for suspected vandalism, my own fence, mind you, another for light pollution from my porch lantern. Each time, they left empty-handed, apologetic. Anonymous tip, they'd say, but I'd spot her car idling on the ridge, watching like a vulture. Fear crept in, not for me, but for what she'd do next. Sure enough, one dawn, I found my fence cut, chickens scattered, Rusty limping from a spook. Deliberate sabotage. That afternoon, a fat envelope, lawsuit papers from the HOA for inciting discord and property devaluation. I roared with laughter, Rusty tilting his head. Suing me for breathing? Classic. But the tide turned that evening. A knock not authoritative, timid. It was Harold, the khaki-clad neighbor from before, hat in hand, glancing over his shoulder. "Can we talk?" Inside, over coffee, he spilled, 10 years under Evelyn's thumb. Fined $600 for a birdhouse, clashing with the pallet. Protested? She threatened liens. Spread rumors he was bankrupt. Sold his dream home at a loss. "She's a bully in pearls," he whispered. "But you're fighting back." Word spread like wildfire in dry brush. More knocks. A mom fined for her kid's tricycle in the driveway. Visual nuisance. A vet threatened over his American flag, exceeding height limits. Stories poured out. Fines for holiday lights. Whispers of affairs to silence dissent. Evelyn's standards were a smokescreen for control, her bored puppets on strings. We formed a quiet alliance, gathering ammo, scanned letters, email chains, meeting minutes where she boasted of maintaining purity. I shared my deed copies, eyes widening as they read the exemption clause. "This changes everything," Harold said. Whispers turned to plans. The next HOA meeting? Packed house. Standing room only, air thick with tension. Evelyn banged her gavel, face flushed under her makeup mask. "Order. This rabble-rouser," she jabbed a manicured finger at me, "has poisoned our unity." I waited, then rose. "Poison? Evelyn, you've been dosing this place with fear for years." I slapped down the documents. Deed, charter, violation logs. "My land's exempt. And guess what? It gives me veto rights over your little dictatorship." Gasps rippled. She scoffed, voice cracking. "Preposterous. That relic means nothing in modern times." I slid over the county certification. "Certified binding last week." "Read it and weep." The room ignited. "If he's free, why aren't we?" a woman shouted. "Yeah. No more fines for breathing." Evelyn's eyes bulged, gavel slamming futilely. "Silence. This is my meeting." But a board member, the young one with a conscience, muttered, "Let's vote on it." The chant rose, "Vote! Vote!" Hands shot up for dissolving the HOA. Overwhelming yes. Her no drowned out. She stormed out, pearls clacking, face a mask of humiliated fury. Outside, cheers erupted, hugs, tears, backslaps. "You did it," Harold grinned. I shook my head. "We did." Peace lasted a blink. 2 days later, personal lawsuit from Evelyn. Defamation, emotional distress. I countered with harassment, abuse of process, rallying the neighbors. Court became a circus, testimonies stacking like dominoes toppling her throne. Her excuses? Laughable. "I was upholding standards," she'd whine, but emails showed her glee in breaking dissenters. Judge's verdict. HOA dissolved forever. Damages to victims. Evelyn banned from boards. We walked out into blinding sun, free at last. That night, porch swing creaking, rusty at my feet, whiskey warming my veins. I stared at the liberated suburb below, colored mailboxes, kids' toys scattered, flags flapping wild. No more clipboard tyrants. But shadows linger. I spot her escalade sometimes, idling far off, then gone. People like her reinvent themselves, find fresh victims. Freedom's fragile, fought in backyards and boardrooms. So, tell me, after all that tyranny unmasked, would you let a Karen like Evelyn slink away unscathed? Or chase down every HOA horror story to burn the system down? Who's the real villain here, the rulemonger or the silent enablers? Drop your take in the comments, right or wrong.